Hello viewers. Women must be liberated. The procreation of children must be carefully controlled. The society or the state must be governed by the wise people. Faith in the immense power of education to make or break states and societies. And communism of family and property. All these concepts ushering in making a society a just society. These ideas seem to be remarkably radical and modern. However, they form part of Plato's political philosophy, which was composed more than 2000 years ago. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, you are requested to kindly subscribe it at the earliest. George S. Sabine, in his book A History of Political Theory, writes that Plato's philosophy can be divided into two phases. One is the earlier phase, and the second is the later phase. The earlier phase is contained in The Republic, which is easily Plato's best book and one of the greatest books of all times. While the political philosophy of the later phase is contained in two of Plato's dialogues, namely The Statesman and The Laws. We start with political philosophy as mentioned in The Republic. Plato starts with the Socratic assumption that virtue is knowledge, and all the conclusions follow from this assumption. It means that if virtue is knowledge, then good or evil has an objective standard. It is not a matter of opinion, pleasure, self-expediency, self-interest, or will to power. Thus, Plato refutes in one stroke pragmatism, utilitarianism, and egoism. Good can also be known and taught. So here Plato refutes skepticism and nihilism. But good can only be known by rational investigation. So here Plato refutes Intuitionism or power of public opinion or guesswork. For Plato, governance is both a science and an art, which cannot be left to the ignorant or the unskilled. So herein lies Plato's chief attack on Athenian democracy, particularly on its principle of happy versatility, which assumed that governance requires no special knowledge or skills. Therefore, only the man who knows, that is, the philosopher, scientist, or scholar, is entitled to rule. Thus, the only legitimate claim to power is knowledge, skill, or wisdom. Now, Plato says, and which is very controversial, that a wise man is necessarily a good man. Therefore, a wise ruler will necessarily be a good or benevolent ruler who will rule with justice. The second major idea of Plato's Republic is the concept of the ideal state. For Plato, any plan to reform political system must address two fundamental problems. Number one, incompetence of ruling class, and number two, factionalism or selfishness among the ruling class. This is also the central idea of Plato's ideal state, which may be regarded as his blueprint for fundamental political reforms. According to Sabine, the ideal state is what a state must in principle or essence be. The more an actual state approaches this ideal, the better it is. So therefore it is a model to which all other states must move. Now the ideal state stands on some key principles which we will be discussing one by one. The first principle is that of collectivism. For Plato, individual exists for the state and not state for the individual. Therefore, individual value and freedom flow from his or her usefulness to society. Thus, Plato refutes the contractual view of state or society, which sees the state or society as the product of a contract between the governed and the governors. For Plato, the state is not primarily concerned with securing freedom, but ensuring individual the place or status he deserves by virtue of his natural aptitude and training. Now we come to the classes in the ideal state, because the ideal state is not a classless state or society. There are three fundamental classes. At the bottom are the workers who produce goods and services. Then the higher class is soldiers who defend the state, and finally there are the rulers who rule. Soldiers and rulers are sometimes also called by Plato the guardians. This threefold division of society corresponds to the three faculties or part of soul or mind, according to Plato, that is the appetitive part, the spirited part, and the rational part. The classes in Plato are not caste, that is, one is not born in any class and one can become worker, soldier, or rulers according to his training and natural aptitude. However, once assigned, a class cannot change. The communism introduced by Plato is a thoroughgoing communism. It includes not only the abolition of property but also that of family. And this is what distinguishes Plato from later communists, notably Karl Marx. Importantly, Plato's communism applies only to guardians. Workers are exempt from it because the guardians are the rulers and the rulers must be free of corruption and factionalism. Plato abolished private property for two reasons. Number one, the combination of political and economic powers may exercise a pernicious effect on government, and thus this we have seen in human history that combination of these two offices in one person is always dangerous. And second, that the wealth by creating factionalism disrupts the unity of the state. In abolishing family and marriage, Plato is actuated by similar motives. For him, if wealth can beget factionalism at the expense of unity of the state, so will the family. So both have to go. Abolition of family will also free up women from their domestic chores and enable the state to utilize their services. Therefore, Plato may be called the first ever feminist in European history, and in his philosophy, a woman can also become a general or a ruler. It may please be noted that in the Athenian democracy, the women did not have the right to be part of the assembly, though they did not have any political rights. Now, another radical idea introduced by Plato is eugenics, and it follows from his communism of family. Improvement of race demands a state-controlled union of man and woman to secure the best possible offspring. Plato regards education as the chief positive means to shape human nature to secure a harmonious society. So immense is the importance of education in the Republic that Rousseau regarded the book as the best ever work on education. Plato's state-controlled compulsory system of education consists of two parts. One is the primary education. It is open for all up to the age of 20. And there is secondary education, which is only for those who have been selected to serve as guardians. A notable feature of the ideal state is the omission of law, because Plato substitutes the rule of intelligence for the rule of law, and he is the advocate of enlightened despotism. Now, all these notions ultimately culminate in the concept of justice, the bond which holds society together and the prime virtue of both the individual and the society. Justice for Plato means giving everyone their due. So, what is due to a man or a woman is that they should be treated on the basis of their natural capacity and education, and what is due from them is honest performance of the functions stipulated by the place or station they hold. So, in this way, we can summarize Plato's political philosophy in the Republic, all the notions culminating in the concept of justice. Now we come to Plato's political philosophy mentioned in Statesmen and the Laws. The notable difference is that in the later phase, law, not the will of the ruler, is supreme. This doesn't mean that Plato has lost his trust in the ideal state or in philosopher ruler, but by virtue of his experience, he is convinced that such a state is practically different to establish. Therefore, if ordinary men, not philosophers, are to rule, then it is better to make them subject to law. Still, the rule of law is not an ideal solution, not the best solution for Plato, but represents a compromise formula. I trust you like this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel Wisdom of Life. Thanks for your time.